Well, hello everyone. Welcome. This is the Magnifying Minds March webinar, and I'm glad to see you here. And for those who are new to our organization, we are a 501c3 organization, and we aim to demystify AI and empower you so that you can be the creator and not the consumer. So basically what we do is we help upskill everyday people and small business owners with those critical digital skills that they need to thrive in today's digital economy. And our goal is to help eradicate the digital knowledge divide. So real quick, I'm Jennifer Bleen, and I am one of the co-founders of Magnifying Minds, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I feel like I've got some fellow entrepreneurs and small business owners here. So happy to see you. And even if you're not a small business owner, the things we'll be talking about, you can use at your regular day-to-day job role. And my LinkedIn is here, so feel free. If you're not connected to me, you're welcome to connect. Now, of course, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. And as promised, this is going to be an interactive session, and I'm going to be covering a few basic points to get us grounded in some context. Then the rest of the session is really going to be about you practicing and devising your strategy for incorporating AI. And looks like I got somebody. This is going to be a little bit difficult to manage that while I'm also trying to do the presentation, but we will make this work. So first, I want to level set. When we talk about strategy, when we're talking about that, what do we actually mean? Fundamentally, at its core, strategy is a coordinated set of prioritized, intentional actions that are designed to achieve some type of long-term goal in some specific context. So whatever your marketplace is, whatever your context is for your business. Now, there are a lot of frameworks out there for strategy. You could use SWOT analysis, OKRs, Porter's 5 Forces, Mitzberg's 5 Ps. There's a lot of them out there. And today's intent is not to educate you on strategy and what it means and which is the best strategy for your organization. Those are things that we'll cover in some upcoming workshops, or you can always hire me to be your coach, right? But what we are going to really do today is we are going to pull from a couple of different strategy frameworks, and we're going to be keeping it very simple. And what we're going to use is a couple of those different elements. We're going to bring them together to help you get started with your strategy. And really what my goal is that when you walk away today, you have at least one intentional action that you'll be able to take with you. Now, as we start playing and we start prompting and having fun at this, I suspect you're going to walk away with quite a few intentions that you would like to take action on. But I would really like to encourage you to focus on just one of those. And the reason is that we want to make sure we're controlling that change. When we look at the Evolve roadmap and that framework, and we're talking about any kind of a digital transformation, it's very easy to get caught up in, oh, we want to make this change and that change and start throwing tools into our environment and our ecosystem. But oftentimes we forget to think about what are we doing to the culture and making sure we're being intentional about how we want the culture to evolve based on the changes that we're introducing. And we also want to make sure that we're preparing our teams and ourselves, and we're learning the appropriate skill sets that we need to be successful. I will be, sometime mid-May is the target, be launching an ebook for this. So DM me on LinkedIn if you would be interested in a free copy. So the other thing that's important here is to know that AI is not plug and play. So we don't just want to go out and start buying everything under the sun and just plugging it in and playing, though it is a lot of fun. And I am guilty of doing it myself, of going out and doing this. But what I've found, the reality is you will spend a lot of money. You won't get your ROI out of it. I've spent thousands on tools that really, I didn't get the value back out of them, but there are others that are worth their weight in gold. So the big thing is we want to make sure that we're clear about what it is we're doing, how we want to use it, so that we aren't just bombarding our teams with all these different new whiz widgets, tools and things like that. So with that, the other thing we got to look out for is some of the tools don't always integrate and don't work well in the context that we need them to. And we want to make sure also that as we're using these tools, we have a strategy in place to make sure that we're not leaking sensitive data. That's a very important one, not to, share any kind of sensitive data. So as you are using the tools, even in today's practices, keep in mind, don't share anything that is sensitive. Keep it from a prompt perspective, unless you already have a programmed, have all your configuration set to not share your data and information, then that would be a different story. But if you're just using some of the free tools with a free trial, say in this type of industry, you don't have to specifically give a lot of information about yourself to get the AI to help you with what we're going to be doing today. Now, if you attended the January session, in January, we had talked about the exponential attributes and what they mean for your organization. If you weren't able to attend, we did get those posted up on YouTube, so feel free to go out to the Magnifying Minds AI on YouTube. We can drop the link in for you so that you have that. Actually, I will go grab that for you and make sure. Well, I'll have to grab it a little bit later, I guess. But basically,
I can do that, Jennifer, if you'd like. I can drop it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so you can go out there. There's, we've been getting caught up on posting the different webinars that we've been doing. Of course, not all of them are out there, but we're working on that. We are a volunteer-led organization. So today, though, what we are going to focus in from an exponential attribute is going to look at your MTP. We're going to spend a little bit of time, not a lot. This is something that you're going to want to take back, probably iterate through with yourself, with your teammates, and really kind of figure out what is your massive transformative purpose. And this one is non-technical. The other attributes here, they tend to need some level of digital enablement for the most part to be able to really implement them full on and make them successful in your organization. And so how does this fit together? Why are we talking about digital transformations and exponential growth? Is because there are, some, it's like the hand in the glove, right? We have to start with the digital transformation. You've got to have some level of digitization, automation, and things set up inside your organization to really leverage those exponential attributes. So this is really, using the Evolve roadmap, going through, getting some of the things that we're going to be talking about today in place will then allow you to start to lean into those exponential growth practices. Now, before we jump in, what I wanted to do is just to make sure that we do cover a little bit of just things we want to make sure you're thinking about. Have clear goals about what you're doing, why you're doing it. Make sure you understand your opportunities, and we'll do a little bit of work in the workshop part of this webinar doing that. Make sure you're thinking about your team, how you want to communicate this out to them. The other thing that we want to make sure that you're thinking about is understanding what data you want to be able to provide access to, and what kind of, how are you going to do quality assessments to make sure that the information you're getting back from the tools works and is meeting your guidelines. Because I will say there is some hallucination that happens, right? So understanding those risks of hallucinations and how to counter them will become important as you're moving forward and you start to leverage the different tools. And then have some kind of AI use policy and guidelines. The facts are that I want to say it was 75 or 80% of employees are to some degree using AI. They're just not telling their employers. So it's better to get ahead of it. Let people, get ahead of it. Let your employees and your team members know, hey, this is allowed, this is not allowed, so that you can make sure that you are protecting sensitive data and things are being used wisely. Now, the fun part is we're going to be diving in. And as I said, it's going to be interactive. So I'm dropping into the group chat right now, a link to our upcoming events. So we do have, there's going to be an April webinar. It's not posted yet. It'll be coming up soon. We do have later in April, starting on the 21st, we'll be doing an AI accelerator. There is a fee for that. However, if you are really interested and your organization is struggling, send an email to us at magnifyingmindsboard@gmail.com with your circumstance, and we'll see if we, what kind of a discount or something we can do for you. Okay. So here is the blueprint. And here's just a little bit of information about the accelerator that's coming up. All right. So everybody should have a blueprint. Is my screen sharing the blueprint, Renee? Your AI strategy workbook that I dropped in the chat?
Um,
Or is it still showing the PowerPoint?
it's showing the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me stop sharing and I will reshare. Okay. Are you now seeing the
Design your business AI strategy workbook.
great? Has everyone been able to open that? Right. So I don't see any comments in the chat, trying to pull all of these things up.
Is that the Word document that you added to the chat?
Yes.
Okay.
Word document or
I
PDF?
just want people to follow along.
Did I drop the Word document or the PDF?
You dropped the Word, yeah. Looks like a Word.
Okay, I actually have a PDF that you can, well, here, hold on. Let me drop the PDF, and that way you can just easily add into the fields. So instead of the Word document. Okay. That'll make it easier because if you try to type into the Word document, you're going to get lines going all over the place and it'll probably drive you crazy. So the PDF should work.
It looks like, yeah, we got some feedback that they're able to open it. So,
okay, great. So this part is all about you. And so when you're doing the exercises for the rest of the session, what I would like for you to do is think about whether it's your business or maybe you have a business idea that you want to launch and maybe haven't launched yet. Or maybe just you're working in an organization and there's, a big project or something that you guys are doing. So you can kind of pick your context. That context is unique to you. And the next thing, if you go to the bottom of the PDF, you will see there are a bunch of different AI models and tools. Pick one. Claude from Anthropic and ChatGPT are really easy. You can just go quickly set up the account. If you don't have one, just log in with like a Gmail or something. It's free. You'll get, a fair amount of prompts. It'll be more than enough for what we're going to be doing today. And you can use Gemini, but I will say I found for the type of work that we're going to be doing, ChatGPT and Claude tend to be a little bit better. But some of the Gemini new stuff that's come out is really good too. But all right, so pick one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go along with you. So if somebody does not have access right now, like maybe you're on a phone and you don't have access, yeah, you can use Copilot. That's fine. That's typically already inside your organization, a lot of the times embedded with your Microsoft. But I encourage you to play. Another thing, it's called chain prompting, is where you can play and bounce between models as well. So when you get off this call and you want to go out and try some of the prompts in more detail, maybe give the same prompt to multiples and see what they come back with. So that's just something you can do. And then you can take a feedback from one model and then integrate that into a prompt for a different model and kind of have them go back and forth. It's a little bit manual, but it's a lot of fun. And you also can get some different thoughts and different brainstorming ideas and stuff that way as well. All right, so we're going to, if I bring Claude and ChatGPT over, you're not seeing that, are you?
I don't see anything yet. Still just the document.
Okay. Yeah, trying to, for whatever reason, I have my screens, I have three screens and they're labeled a certain way, but Zoom renumbers them and is doing something weird. All right. Well, in the meantime, let's get started and then I can unshare this and try sharing again to get the whole screen. All right. So once you've picked your tool, log in, and we'll go back up to the top here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up with a growth target. So what is the challenge that you're wanting? So if we just we're going to look at over the next 6 months. What kind of a target do you want to achieve? It could be a monetary target. It could be a process-driven target. It could be an acquisition, count target. What kind of a target are you thinking about? Now, if you're unsure of what kind of target you want, I've actually put some prompts in as part of step 1. If you go to the next page where it says AI Insights, if you're trying to figure out, there's a couple prompts here that might help you think about what could be some priority things that you want to look at. And so as we think through, we're going to do, like, I want to improve, let's say I want to get more leads. I think we have probably some people here at work in marketing, have their business, they're trying to get more leads. Well, what we want to do, so if I say my goal is to get more leads, and then maybe I want to increase my revenue. So yes, think about something you would like to do in your business. Now we want to think about how do we make those goals SMART, which means they need to be small enough. They need to be measurable. We need to be able to measure them, right? And so really, when we start thinking about how do we want to break these down, if I say, well, I want to get more leads, and so let's say I'm looking to get 5 qualified leads a week, let's say, for a business. And I want to increase my revenue by 50%. It's a big goal in 6 months, but now, is that a good target? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the thing that I want you to think about, if you remember when we said it's important to just not start buying a bunch of tools, but we wanted to really think about it from the context of what kind of organization are we creating? What kind of digital, what kind of training do we need? Why is a lot of that leads to your why. So when we talk about, exploring the opportunity, we want to know what the opportunity is. So that's where we start to think about why. And then as we go through and we get to the point that we're starting to organize, that's going to help us think through, well, why were we doing it? Why do we want to make this change? So when we go to organize and make the change within the team and train people, we have something to anchor them to, which is that why, which is something that we want to identify up front, which is usually what is either it's some kind of a change that's a change driver that's happening maybe inside or outside our organization that's helping to lead into that. Well, why do we really need to do this? So does somebody here have maybe a reason why this is important to their organization that they'd want to share? Are you able to unmute? Or it looks like everybody is muted. Now I'm going to do an ask to unmute all so this can be interactive. Did you guys receive a request to unmute?
Yeah, I think so. I did. It looks
Okay.
like some of the other people are unmuted now too.
Great.
I'm muted here. Can
So
you hear
what
me?
are some of the business goals that you guys are coming up with so far?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Hi, John. Go ahead.
Hi. Nothing yet. Yeah.
I can't hear you now if you're speaking.
And now he's muted again.
I muted. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. I am going to try to see if this will share the entire screen. Are you now seeing Claude?
Yes.
Okay, great. Nothing like navigating all of these at the same time.
Yeah, it looks good. That Friday feeling, Jennifer.
Oh, yes. Okay, so let's go back in here. Does anybody have any goals they would like to share that they're working on? This is an interactive session.
Give you a context or just give you a general goal?
Yeah, so just what's something that you're working on? That you would
Right
be
now-
your priority, like if you were to have a goal and you're trying to make it smart for your company or your business.
Currently working on generating leads for a soccer tryout that I'm hosting.
Okay, great. So in this one would be you're looking to get more leads for your soccer tryout. And have you defined any kind of a measurement behind that? What do you need in that case? How many leads?
Well, I said leads. I'm sorry. I should say registrations for a soccer tryout. And that's measured by completed soccer registration forms.
Okay. So
So
we would want, in this case, get more registered soccer players.
Right.
Okay. And in this time, it would be qualified registrations or paid registrations.
Paid registrations. Yeah.
And why is this important for your organization?
It's revenue for the business.
Okay. So you need it for revenue, but what's behind the revenue?
Participants for the tryout. I need the participants for the tryout. So
Okay. All right. So let's go look at, I'm just going to pull one of the prompts here. So you guys can take any of the prompts here that resonate with maybe that if you're feeling a little bit stuck. And what we'll do is we'll go into Claude here.
would it help to mention that I actually have a website with all this already integrated with metrics for when forms are completed, or is this?
Yeah,
Is that
no,
something?
that's fine. So we'll start with your goal right now is to increase registrations. So we'll just start here. Just to kind of see what kind of things come off. And this will give us our first kind of generic prompt. And thank you, John, for being the guinea pig. And I'm sure I know you, so I know you probably have already done a lot of this in more detail. But for those who are newer, we will let that run. And where did it just go? My screen just froze. I will try this one. Nothing like live. I'll copy that so in case it decides to freeze up on me. So we'll put it in ChatGPT and we'll see what that comes back with. And while it's running, we'll go back over here to Claude and try again. So this is where, we can ask 2 different tools and see what they come back with and what they are suggesting as maybe some SMART goals. All right. So if we want to increase soccer camp into a SMART goal, let's go down, make it specific. So do you know how many people you want to have as registrations? What's our number? John?
Oh, I'm talking in. Okay, sorry.
So what's your
yes.
target number?
So the target number is 100. Low water mark is 50. And of course, anything over 100 is bonus.
Okay. So we are seeking 100. Do we have a date that we're trying to achieve this by?
This is the registrations need to be by May the the date shifted. May 16th. The event is on June 9th.
Okay. So now we'll give it some additional context. So in the beginning, we gave it something generic. It gave us some things to think about. Well, what is your target? When are you looking at having it? And so here it's giving us some information. And we said starts June 6th. Okay. And see.
June 9th.
Oh, June 9th. Oops. Well. Okay. So now it's giving us some updated ones based on some refinement of what we just gave it. So now when we come over here, let's see how ChatGPT handled this. So here it said increase your registrations from 100 to 130 by May. Doesn't quite, give us what we're looking for, but it did start to give us some action plans. So it took it upon itself to actually start to provide us some additional information. Now we may say, oh yeah, this is awesome. That's exactly what we want. But we can come in here and we can say our target is 100 registrations by, we said May 15th or June 9th camp. And I'm just saying, here's what we now have. So now it's given us our SMART goal. It's something that we can measure it. We're being more specific about it. And then it starts to break that goal down for us. And so now it even starts to give us an action plan and a timeline. It's suggesting maybe we offer some discounts potentially, get some goals, some things locked in, some things we could be promoting. So this is just, again, it's a starting point to help us get to what is our priority and how do we get it to something measurable. So in here, as we just went through with the conversation with John, using AI, we were able to narrow that down a little bit more into some more specific things we can be thinking about. Now, I would like for you guys to do this now with some of yours, like some of your goals, and let me know what you've come up with. And anybody want to share here with the group? Nobody bites, and you're all virtual anyway, so.
Want me to continue? Because I have quite a bit of this built in.
Yeah, just want to see if anybody else wants to share. Quiet group today.
Yeah, I'm sure some people on the call are probably, they're not in that position, right? They probably don't have their own business, but they're just AI curious. So we may
you might have a project you're working on. Maybe you're working on a new product inside your company, and you might have some kind of goals that you are working on. We're still in Q1. So yes, Gordon.
Yeah, hi, Jennifer. I'll share one. I have just to extend my network in appropriate areas as a top goal. Uh, I'm looking for like one new good network partner that I feel like I've gained over the course of a year that'll help me in each of the target areas that I'm focused on in my business. And the reason I said that's important is because they help drive success and they also give outside in validation to the things I'm attempting to do and people to do that with, which makes it more fun.
Yeah. Awesome. So in here you want, in your case, yours would be you're increasing your probably your general network to some degree, right? Because you're trying to find like a good partner in there, but to find them, you're looking to expand your network.
Yeah,
Have
you
you
start
tried any
meeting.
of the prompts in here to come up with something that's measurable? So if we're looking maybe over the next 6 months, is there some kind of a goal that you would like to achieve towards that bigger, that bigger priority?
Yeah, I said one new good network partner for each of the target areas during the year. How AI is going to help me do that, I'm not sure, but it's really just networking. But I
Yeah.
was just taking the business growth target framework literally, not putting it in an AI context.
Okay. Well, here, let's go play in the AI context then for a minute.
All right.
So in this case, let's go grab one of the prompts. You can always make up your own prompts, but I put some of these out here. So in your case, you've got multiple targets. So let's take this prompt here. So for my goal, when you say areas, like what do you mean by an area, Gordon? Are you looking at a
Yeah,
partner? Go ahead.
everything from publishing work would be one area. Uh, Strategic foresight would be another area. Um, Project program and portfolio management would be an area. So just across various aspects of what I do.
So we said strategic foresight, portfolio management, and I forget what the first one was.
You could say publishing,
Publishing.
master classes would be another area.
Okay. So we're going to, and would you consider, like, are you in a specific industry? Like, are you in finance or banking or retail or manufacturing? Do you have any specific industries?
Yeah. To narrow it, let's just say publishing and financial services. There are others, but those are a couple of primaries.
Industry should probably be, but okay. All right, so we're going to give this to both of our AIs. I'm going to go get a new one. And we'll give it to that. All right, so let's see what ChatGPT came up with. So here, if we're looking to find a new partner, what the suggestion is the number of qualified partnership leads per service area. Why does it matter? Well, we want to track how many people or organizations you've engaged with are open to a partnership. And so you would be looking for a target of if you're looking for 5 to 7 qualified leads per service area, you're looking at about 20 to 28 total. Now, I don't know if this is, if I typed in the prompt to really reflect what you're trying to do. But you can always come in and clarify if you're like, no, you didn't get what I meant by service area. And so, you might say that doesn't make any sense, right? So we just take a look here and see if anything does resonate and if anything doesn't make any sense at all. So maybe looking at qualified partnerships in a service area, partnership conversion rates. Do you know how many you want and what kind of conversion rate you get? And then it's like, well, how would you measure that? For every time you have a partnership, divide that by how many qualified leads you have. And do you know what a qualified lead looks like in this scenario? Maybe you already have that, where I know John's already built out a lot of that, already put it into a CRM type of system. If you haven't, we could go in and say, hey, can you give me suggestions on what I should be looking for in a qualified lead? So maybe we can ask that question as a follow-on. How many conversations should you be having? How many discovery meetings should you be having with people in your network as you're going out and talking to people, so that you can find the ones that make the most sense? So here, if you're looking at having 2 to 3 conversations per month, maybe in each service area. So if you have different service areas. And again, I'm not sure if this interpreted your definition of service area, but content or thought leadership output shared with potential partners. So are you tailoring assets that you're giving out, some kind of blog, white papers, webinars, and things like that? Things you might want to consider to measure would be maybe what kind of clicks, downloads, responses. So where John was mentioning for his soccer, he knows he has to get in front of so many people. They've got to click the link, and then they got to do something, and then they register. So do you know what that funnel looks like? And if not, we can actually come back and ask ChatGPT to say, hey, can you clarify or can you create a funnel for me? Then look at your referrals and introductions. Maybe you want to track some kind of measurable outcomes around that. Take a measurable action that says, you know what? I have a really strong, warm network. Why don't I focus in there? And maybe you want to put some kind of goals around that, where you might want to do some kind of reach out to your warm people and then ask them saying, hey, here's what I'm looking for. And you can actually ask ChatGPT or Claude or any of these to say, you know what, I think I want to do the referral or introduction request. And based on that, can you write a 5-step email campaign for me? And so I'm just going to play with this. I'm going to copy the one that, again, this may not be the exact one, but I'm just going to do this for fun. We'll say, now we're kind of diving into the action part here for a moment, just to kind of show you before we get into some of the strategy, because now we're down into the planning. But this is just always a fun thing to do though. Can you create a 5-series email campaign for, and I just copy what it told me it's going to do. And then it's made a recommendation you could use some different tools too up above. I was talking about that. But we'll let it just kind of play a little bit. All right, let's go see what Claude had to say. So Claude interpreted that partner across your service areas is that you had these different areas. And over 6 months, this one looked at your lead based on the type of target that you're looking at. Is it a small, medium, or a large business? So Claude took a little bit of a different approach here. Started looking at maybe some engagement scores. How would you measure engagement with them? What kind of revenue opportunities are there? Network extensions, and maybe some partnership activation times. So it gave very different metrics. This is why I say give the same prompt to multiple models, because they interpret it differently. And as you use the models, they'll start to learn what you expect, because they'll remember little bits and pieces over time. And then you can have to go in occasionally and kind of clean those out if there's things in there you don't want them to remember. But anyways, this is just to help us get to maybe some measurable items. Now, just for the thrill of it, here are some emails, catching up and sharing what I'm working on type of an email, referral request, soft ask, Maybe share a value add resource. If there are already some things that you're doing, Gordon, maybe you can share links to those things, right? And then maybe some other follow up, and then, you know, sharing some success stories you've had. So just some things you can play with in there. Again, they may not be exactly what you're looking for. So as you go in and play a little bit, you'll be able to tailor that, say yes, no, always challenge, call BS. I've been playing with Manus AI a lot lately. That's because they just launched this month. And there are times they just did a great job, and other times they just made up BS. And I'm like, yeah, you did not hit the mark. Everything you gave me was bogus. Why? And I ask it to self-diagnose, and actually got a pretty good job of self-diagnosing itself, but it still didn't give me the answer I wanted. Okay, so now that we have some measurable goals, so we've thought about, here's some goals that we want to measure. So in your case, John, let's kind of switch back to you. You're like, all right, I need 100 registrations. Looking at my business, my approach, how I'm going out to the market, what pain points or bottlenecks am I feeling? And so this is where you can just kind of, depending on how you like to think, you might know, boom, 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 and have an instant bullet list of those. Other people may want to kind of free for all, just have a stream of consciousness, write it out, and then go back and look at it to see if you can pick out maybe where there's some challenges to better articulate it. So I just put, there's a bunch of lines here. You can work whichever way you want to work in that case. So John, let's go back to your scenario real quick. So you know that you need to get 100 registrations. Where are you facing some bottlenecks?
Right now, I'm trying to make contacts with. Well, the bottleneck is one of the biggest bottlenecks is getting a list of players that say have the skill sets to be able to be successful in this tryout. So I get a lot of players who are interested, but maybe not the players that would ultimately be selected. So I need quality players.
So in this case, you know, identifying what those skills are, which you have, I'm pretty sure. So now you're saying, okay, I can't find enough people who have those skill sets. So let's see what our handy dandy tools can come up with here. So I put some different ideas here for helping you identify your pain points if you don't know them. In this case, John, you know yours. And maybe we want to articulate that into some kind of a measurable outpack or impact here. So let's look at that. Let's see. We'll play with this one. Here. Because the goal is to get very precise. So let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. And while it's running, we'll go over to Claude and see what Claude comes up with. Now, when you're using the models, if you're new to them, you'll see where you can change what model you want to use. And depending on what type of an account you have different models available to you. So here you would change it down here on ChatGPT. It's up above. I can show you. So here are some different ideas, John, to kind of think through. So the suggestion from Claude is that you're unable to efficiently identify and target qualified players with specific skill sets needed for this specialized training. So you've got a mismatch in skills during this registration, and this has extended the player evaluation process. I don't know if 3 days per participant is correct or not. Maybe you've delayed your program planning. Could be reducing your registration conversion rates because maybe you're spending money and effort out there targeting, but you're not getting the conversions that you expect. So in here, your process, maybe you're lacking, your system may be lacking in how you identify, categorize, and access the information about the players. Is there a standard assessment that you're using? Do you have any type of maybe questionnaire or qualification that you're presenting as part of your recruiting process here? Is it in the pre-registration or is it happening once they're already registered? Have you been able to pinpoint that down yet? And then who's going to be affected by this if you don't have the right quality? Well, the administrators, of course, the coaching staff who are going to be trying to, create this intense training program, and they have to stop because there might be people who are not as qualified that are slowing that down. Players could be overlooked, and parents might get upset as well. So we start looking at how big of an impact is this pain point. And then we want to look at, again, these may not be the right measurable impacts, but it's some things to think about.
They're very close in what I'm
Are they
looking
close?
at. Very
Okay.
close. Yeah.
All right. So good job, Claude. So let's go see what ChatGPT came up with. So here they're saying that you're, let's see, struggling to identify a reliable list of players. You've got this coming up, coaching staff. It's taking extra to get people sorted. I don't know if you're sorting players into pre-teams, so to speak, for the camp or not, but maybe it's causing some extra, or could if you haven't started that process. Here again, no system for gathering or filtering players. When and where is this happening? Who's affected? And what's the impact? Now, again, it may not be the right impact, but so we can use either one of these. But the intention here is to understand what our goal is, and then we want to start really understanding what's getting in the way of our goal. Because right now, you've got a short deadline. So we're looking at less than 6 months in your case. You're looking at a couple months here away, and what's in the way here. So let's go back now that we've started to get our list of players, or we've got our pain points. Let's start looking at where can AI help us. And so this is where you could start looking at what are some ways that AI can help you with those pain points. And maybe you can do some role playing with AI. I put these in here along with a bunch of prompts so that you can take this, work with it on your own, see what you come up with, because this is not something you're going to be one and done with. You're going to want to, kind of go back and forth and discuss. So in here, we're going to say, well, how can AI help me? So let's look at which one sounds like it might be a good one. We already know probably your ROI.
And Jennifer, I just want to chime in, just for time's sake, just want to let you know we have, it's 10 till 1.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So let's see here. What looks like it might be a good. All right, let's try this one, John. Let's look at, oops. we're going to say what pain point AI gave us, and we'll put that in here. And we'll just kind of go down the path of whatever it was saying. And no, I don't need the footer information. Okay, so we'll let that one go. And then, whoops. We'll go over here. Claude, maybe we'll have a better answer for us since it was. And we'll copy the pain points in that it gave us. And let's see what they come up with. All right, so let's go back to ChatGPT. So some quick wins, something you can implement today. Use a Google form or Typeform for your player intake and help ChatGPT help analyze responses and flag qualified players. So if you put a Google form out there with, hey, here are some of the specific questions that you want to ask, and you can have AI help you even generate those questions based on the skill sets that you're looking for. So have the AI help you create the intake, basically interview questions. All of those will come into your Google form, into a Google spreadsheet, and then you can upload that Google spreadsheet into a ChatGPT or a Claude and say, hey, and this is what I'm looking for. Analyze these responses and see if that helps you flag. So that's something they're asking you maybe today you can do. This is something you can do within hours. If you want, you can do a more integrated one. You could use Zapier or Make as some ways to help you, some of the different tools out there that you could use to help with some automations so that you aren't manually doing everything. If you want to do more, let's see, player qualification grouping system. So again, this one was assuming that you're going to have to take these players and put them into small teams for the camp. And so it was giving you some ideas on how you could automate that as well. And again, here are some of the tools. Here are some of the features for doing that and some of the benefits. So that was ChatGPT. So let's go see what Claude came up with. Now, Claude had come up with a slightly different pain point than what ChatGPT did. So we should see some different ideas in here. So here, a simple assessment form. So they both seem to be gravitating towards some kind of an assessment. And this one said Google Forms or Microsoft, where the other one had given you, some other options. And here, what are the metrics? What's the, they actually gave you ideas. So Claude started to actually think about what you want to be asking inside of your assessment, where the GPT response was still pretty generic, and you would have to do some more prompting there. And then here, you can ask coaches to complete this for their existing players. So if you are reaching out to schools or any kind of soccer organizations, they might be able to help you with this. And then some other ideas it gave you is if you want to do some more semi-automated solutions, again, some different tools to try, some different steps, some different systems. So you got some options here, some ideas that you can play with. Again, the goal is what we're trying to really understand is what's a solution that we can take away. We're looking for something that we can take action on to help us with our pain point and identify some tools. Both of the language models gave us some ideas and options. You would need to take it and dig in a little bit more deeply on those. Once you have those, I put together just like a little one-page AI activation plan where you can say your company and your name. So if you needed to share this with somebody inside your company. The thing we didn't spend a lot of time with, and I know we're low on time, is your massive transformative purpose. So when we think about, yes, we're doing a soccer camp, we want to make money, great. But what's bigger than that? What's beyond that? Gordon, in your case, is like, yeah, you want a partner, you want a network, it gives you more reach, more impact, but what's beyond that? And so that massive transformative purpose is really starting to look at like your BHAGs, this terminology used, what's your big vision for your organization? And so if you're struggling with that, I've also put down here some prompts to get you started, and then you can start maybe having some conversations with your AIs on those. But basically, what you can do is as you're prompting and you say, you know what, this sounds like a good goal. I think that I like the goal that we came up with by, was it May 15th, 100? So it'd be May 15th registrations. I need 100 of them. Currently, maybe I have 5. I need, to get to 100. Whatever the case may be, you can start to fill in, what your goals are, how you're going to measure them. In this case, the metric would be number of registrations and then my current registrations and my target. So the target's 100, maybe current's 5 or 10, and number of registrations. Then we start looking at, well, where are my target areas that are in my way? In this case, for John, it would be qualified registrations. Great. Well, what's a quick win? Maybe I do some kind of screening on the front end. Great. Then what tools can I use to do that? Then we start thinking about, well, why is this important? Well, if we go back to the pain points, well, it's important because we want our players to have a good experience. We want our coaches that we're bringing in to have a good experience. We want our parents to have a good experience. So you can kind of think about in terms of, team, maybe it's inside your company, team benefits, your customer benefits, other stakeholders. You can choose to use this however you want. But just come up with what are some of those benefits, because this will help you with the change management, especially if you're looking to introduce a change into a team, help them understand why it's important to them and the customers and others. And then what kind of training and communication needs are needed? If we want to do this, is there some kind of a how-to, or is there any kind of guidelines that I need to give, or am I just going to throw a survey out there? Does my survey need to provide some kind of instructions? Who's going to take the survey and use the survey internally? Do I need to provide them any kind of training and guidelines? And then really you can, just come in and say, well, how much savings per week do I think I'm going to gain by implementing this particular solution? And what kind of, maybe you're getting some feedback scores from your team as a potential. Maybe there's some revenue impacts. Maybe you have some workflows that you're looking to automate. And then really you just kind of look through, well, what's the first thing I want to test? And then run that experiment. And then when you're done, document. Did it help? Not help? How much time did it save me? How much cost did it save me? Did it increase my revenue? And then you can share those outcomes with your team, maybe get some feedback, and then do the process again.